Hi, I'm Linda Dodson. I weave large bead tapestries on a loom. I made this video to show you how I make them. My tapestries are woven much like the weaving done on the small looms sold in craft stores. Here's what you need to make a large tapestry like this one called Rudbeckia's. You need a large loom. I use a Mirex loom, although larger than the one shown, but you can make a loom of any size or have it built. You can make a loom using canvas stretcher bars to make a frame and then attaching a coil or rod across the top to guide and separate the warp threads. Add pegs on the ends to loop the thread around. You need some beads. Beads called delicas are the most widely used for tapestry weaving because they are more uniform in size than regular beads. Actually, they're little cylinders. Then you need some thread. I use fireline 4-pound test for the warp threads, the threads that run from the top to the bottom of the loom. You can use Nemo 0 or 00. Nemo stretches, so leave some slack in your warp. If it is too tight, your piece will shrink up unevenly when you take it off the loom. It is also very easy to split Nemo with your needle when you're weaving the weft, the thread that goes crosswise. I do use Nemo 0 or 00 or a brand called Sono for the weft. Again, don't pull it very tightly when you are weaving. You need a design and a way to figure what color beads you need to make the design. I sketch my designs in Corel Painter 10. You can hand sketch and scan your drawing or use a digital photograph. I import my sketch or picture into a program which will convert the design to boxes representing the number and color of beads I will need. There are several programs that will do this, but my favorite is Bead Tool 3 by Fired Up Software. The program is reasonably priced, the technical support is excellent, and the program is user-friendly. The program you choose will have a way to print the converted picture, usually using symbols to represent the colors. With large tapestries, the chart will be divided across many sheets. The program can only suggest colors. Bead finishes and luminosities can't be translated to screen, and different monitors read the same color differently. You can make samples by placing beads next to each other and then substituting your choices for some of the beads the program suggests. Once you have a pleasing chart that fits the size of your loom, you can place the warp threads. For the homemade loom in the diagram, the thread is attached to the first peg on the bottom, brought through the spring or roller at the top, and wrapped around the first top peg, brought back down across the next spring coil and down to the bottom peg and wrapped around that. Each peg will hold multiple threads. Manufactured looms will come with instructions, but be sure to add one warp thread more than the beads required for your design. Set up your palette so that you have easy access to the colors you will be using in your design. Now you are ready to start weaving. I use a number 12 beading needle that is 3 or 4 inches long, but a shorter needle of about that size will work. To start, pick up all the beads for the entire row according to your chart. When I get a bunch of beads on the needle, I count them off by 5s or 10s and push them off to the thread. I then cross through the corresponding boxes on the chart. At the end of each sheet, I count the beads to make sure that the number matches the chart. If I make a mistake, it's easier to correct it at the end of one sheet than at the end of the entire row. When the entire row of beads is strung, place the bead string behind the warp threads. Starting at the right and leaving the bead slightly slack, place a bead between each of the warp threads, as in diagram A. You can start your piece by making a few rows with yarn before making the first bead row, or you can start directly with beads. If you start directly with beads, you will probably have to hold each bead in place while you stitch through it, working one at a time across the row. Don't worry if the first row is not straight. You can fix that when you've added a few more rows. Push each bead forward so that the hole is in front of the warp thread and lace the thread through each bead, being careful not to catch any warp threads with the needle. The warp threads will be trapped behind the needle. Work in small groups. Before pulling your needle from the beads, run your finger along the back. If any warp threads have not been trapped behind the weft thread, you will feel and see the loose threads, so you can run the needle back through to secure them. You may need to pull the weft slightly as you near the left edge. You will know because the beads will no longer be lining up with the warp and the weft will be tight. The tension on the weft will vary with the size of the tapestry and the size of the beads. Continue the rows of the chart until you come to its end. There are lots of ways to finish your piece, but there isn't time to go into them here. However, there's an excellent book out that you can purchase to show you how to finish. The book is Beading on a Loom by Don Pierce. Don also gives good tips on increasing, decreasing, and open work patterns. He has a website at www.donpierce.com. He also makes a loom that you might want to take a look at. As you can now see, the method of bead weaving hasn't changed much for centuries, and it can still be a tool to make great art. Plus, the introduction of new and less expensive beads from Japan and the Czech Republic makes almost an infinite number of color combinations possible, adding to the creativity available today.